Yosemite National Park is a cathedral of granite and light, a place where the wild heart of America beats strong and steady. Here, ancient stone walls rise like the spires of a natural temple, and every sunrise paints the valley in gold, reminding us of the enduring beauty that has inspired artists, poets, and adventurers for generations. It is a living testament to the power of nature, where the Merced River carves its way through dramatic landscapes, and the air itself seems charged with possibility. For generations, people have come from around the world to stand in awe of El Capitan, craning their necks to witness climbers inching up its sheer face and to feel dwarfed by the scale of the wild. They come to feel the cool mist of Yosemite Falls on their skin, to listen to the thunder of water plunging into the valley below, and to be reminded of nature's raw, untamed force. And they walk among ancient sequoias, living giants that have stood for thousands of years, silent witnesses to the passage of time and the changing face of the land. This park is a promise, a piece of America's soul, preserved for all. It is a democratic space where wilderness is cherished, where families gather, and where people from every background can find peace, adventure, and inspiration. But this summer, a quiet crisis threatens that promise. The campgrounds are still, ranger stations sit empty, and a sense of unease lingers in the air. Visitors arrive expecting pristine wilderness, but signs of strain are everywhere. Crowded trails, worn paths, and the unmistakable presence of litter where there should be only wildflowers. The systems that keep the park running, roads, trails, restrooms, rangers, are buckling under immense pressure, struggling to keep up with the growing demands of millions of visitors. There simply aren't enough people to do the work. Rangers and maintenance crews are stretched thin, often forced to choose between urgent repairs and basic upkeep. The dedicated staff are stretched to their limits, and the park is showing the wear of neglect. Their passion is undiminished, but their numbers are too few. Instead of wonder, visitors notice overflowing trash cans, picnic areas marred by debris, and trails that are no longer cared for as they once were. And closed restrooms, small symptoms of a deeper problem, leave many frustrated, questioning the future of these treasured places. This isn't just Yosemite's story. Across the country, national parks face a critical shortage of staff, as budget cuts and rising costs take their toll on the very places meant to be protected for all. The summer of 2025 is a turning point, exposing the consequences of years of cuts and neglect. The cracks are widening, and the cost of inaction is becoming impossible to ignore. The question now, can America's best idea survive this crisis? Or will we allow our crown jewels to fade, one neglected trail at a time? Millions plan their vacations around national parks, expecting well-kept beauty and clean facilities. This summer, those expectations are colliding with reality. At Yosemite and beyond, basic services are suffering from a severe lack of personnel. Campgrounds show neglect, trash bins overflow, and restrooms go uncleaned. The staff shortage affects every aspect of park operations. Fewer educational programs, reduced visitor center hours, and delayed maintenance. Rangers are forced to juggle multiple roles, from leading nature walks to scrubbing toilets. Burnout and low morale are rampant among those left. The visitor experience erodes, dirty campsites, closed trails, and a diminished connection to nature. These aren't just inconveniences, they undermine the very purpose of the parks. When the foundation crumbles, the promise of inspiration and accessibility weakens. The staff shortage is quietly chipping away at the heart of our national park system. The staffing crisis didn't appear overnight. It crept in slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, as budgets tightened and priorities shifted. What began as a few unfilled positions quietly snowballed into a full-blown emergency, leaving parks across the country struggling to keep up. This crisis is the result of a decade of decline, worsened by recent federal policies that prioritized cost-cutting over stewardship. Once these parks were bustling with dedicated staff, each playing a vital role in protecting our natural heritage. Since 2010, the National Park Service has lost over a third of its workforce. The most severe cuts came after the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, a move that promised savings but delivered hardship. Job eliminations and buyouts gutted the agency, taking with them decades of experience and institutional knowledge. The faces and stories behind those uniforms are gone, leaving empty offices and a sense of loss that can't be measured on a spreadsheet. These cuts were sold as efficiency, but the reality is devastating. Fewer rangers, scientists, and maintenance workers are left to shoulder the burden. The remaining staff are stretched thin, often working overtime just to keep the basics running. The parks are forced into survival mode, focusing only on the most visible problems. Routine maintenance is delayed, and small issues are left to grow into larger ones. Long-term conservation, research, and ecosystem management are sacrificed. The tools and equipment for scientific study gather dust, and the knowledge that could help protect these places for future generations is left unused. The loss of staff means less monitoring, less research, and less proactive management. Critical data goes uncollected, and early warning signs of trouble are missed. The National Park Service is left reacting to crises instead of preventing them. Wildfires, floods, and other disasters become harder to manage, putting both nature and visitors at risk. The future of our parks is being mortgaged for the illusion of efficiency today. If we continue down this path, the cost will be measured not just in dollars, but in the loss of irreplaceable natural wonders and the stories they hold. In Yosemite, highly trained scientists are now cleaning toilets and manning entrance gates. Hydrologists and invasive species experts are pulled from critical research to fill basic maintenance gaps. This desperate repurposing of staff keeps the park barely functioning, but at a steep cost. Scientific research and resource management are sidelined. Experts are demoralized, unable to do the work they trained for. Their specialized skills are wasted, and morale plummets. The park loses its ability to make informed decisions about its resources. The hydrologist with a mop is a symbol of a system in crisis. Yosemite is sacrificing its long-term health for short-term survival. The staffing crisis is magnified by a surge in visitors, over 331 million in 2024 alone. More people means more cars, crowded trails, and greater demand for every service. The parks are being asked to serve record numbers with a workforce cut to the bone. The result: traffic jams, packed viewpoints, and eroding trails. Wildlife is stressed or displaced, and the sense of wilderness is fading. Staff are overwhelmed, forced to triage emergencies and let other problems slide. A single ranger now covers what used to be the territory of 3 or 4. The imbalance is unsustainable. The flood of visitors is turning a staffing shortage into a full-blown crisis. The parks and their employees are being pushed to the breaking point. The wildness that draws people here is at risk of being loved to death. Fewer rangers and maintenance workers mean more than just dirty restrooms. They mean real safety risks. With thin staff, response times to emergencies grow longer, and accidents become more dangerous. Fewer rangers on patrol lead to more risky visitor behavior and more search and rescue operations. Employees work longer hours, often alone in remote areas, increasing their own risk of injury and burnout. The public's trust in the park's safety is eroding. Parks are meant to inspire, not endanger. The current crisis is pushing the system toward a tipping point. The reputation of our national parks as safe, welcoming places is on the line. The crisis facing our national parks is not just a distant policy debate. It's deeply personal for those who dedicate their lives to protecting these treasured places. For the superintendents, rangers, and staff, the challenges are felt every day, in every decision they make. In May 2025, Kevin Heatley, superintendent of Crater Lake, made a heart-wrenching decision. He resigned in protest, stating he could no longer guarantee the safety of his staff or the millions of visitors who come to experience the park's beauty. His departure sent shockwaves through the Park Service community. With 18 critical positions left unfilled, Crater Lake was teetering on the edge of operational collapse. Essential services were stretched thin, and the park's ability to respond to emergencies or maintain basic functions was in jeopardy. Heatley's resignation was more than a personal protest. It was a desperate alarm bell, a warning echoed by other park leaders across the country who face similar crises. Dan Wenk, former superintendent of Yellowstone, has spoken out publicly, warning that if the situation continues, parks will be forced to abandon their core mission of conservation and education, focusing only on the most basic visitor services. Research, wildlife management, and even routine maintenance are already being sacrificed. Trails go untended, facilities deteriorate, and critical scientific work is put on hold, all just to keep the gates open for the public. These are not just complaints or bureaucratic gripes. They are expert diagnoses from those who know the system best. The warnings come from people with decades of experience who understand what's at stake. Park leaders feel abandoned by the very institutions meant to support them, tasked with an impossible mission and given far too few resources to succeed. The emotional toll is visible on their faces and in their voices. Their warnings are not just bureaucratic red tape, they are heartfelt pleas for help, for action, and for the future of our national parks, before it's too late to reverse the damage. When the stewards of our parks sound the alarm, it's not just a call for attention, it's a call to protect the legacy we all share. We must listen, and we must act. In response to public outcry, the Trump administration pledged to hire 7,700 seasonal rangers for summer 2025. Seasonal staff are the backbone of the parks during peak months, but by mid-May, only 3,300 of those positions had been filled. Bureaucratic delays, low wages, and lack of housing have left parks without promised reinforcements. Superintendents are forced to scramble, relying on stopgap measures and overworked permanent staff. The gap between promises and reality is stark. Watchdog groups warn this is not a temporary setback, but a sign of systemic failure. The parks enter their busiest season dangerously understaffed. The future of America's public lands hangs in the balance. This crisis is about more than budgets or bureaucracy. It's about the future of America's most cherished landscapes. Parks are sanctuaries for wildlife, classrooms for our children, and a vital part of our national identity. Neglecting them is a betrayal of the legacy we inherited. Conservation can't be put on hold. Damage done now may never be undone. Millions visit each year, seeking inspiration and connection. When we fail to invest, we diminish that experience and create barriers for all. A well-staffed park is a welcoming park, fulfilling its democratic promise. The fate of our parks reflects our values as a nation. Saving them requires more than sentiment. It demands real commitment and resources. The future of America's best idea depends on what we do next.